3 straight grueling weeks on the PGA Tour. Are these stars really too tired from the US Open, or are we making too big of a deal with that? Making picks this week at the Travelers Championship here on the Roundtable. Chris Brees, Matt Delvecchio, and Benny Betts, who says that these guys are dog tired, and beware, Benny.
Not just me. Scotty Scheffler, the world number one, says he's dog tired, says he's just wiped out from the last 2 weeks. We're talking not just 2 weeks of tough golf and tough competition, but real grind golf. The Memorial was set up like a US Open. The US Open was not only a tough setup, but it was 1,000,000 degrees out there. Just walking 18 holes got you tired, and you can take that as read because, as you know, boys, I was there. It was tough, and now you've got to flip the switch and go to a birdie fest, even though you've got nothing left in the tank. I think that there's something there. We've never had this before, unicorn situation, but you've got to start to think about who's gassed and who's not.
I was just going to add, so there's a big thing that we need to figure out here is what kind of fatigue are we talking? We're talking physical fatigue or mental fatigue?
Exactly.
They're very different. I think they affect different players. Okay, now if you look at the top of the board, you talk about the big guys, the big players, their mental fatigue, they can handle that. They can handle going down the stretch. They can handle all those things. I think for lower level guys, that's really where you want to talk about down the stretch. Maybe they haven't won before. Maybe they haven't been doing great. That's the kind of difference that I think we should really talk about is mental and physical.
So what do we do here?
Back to Scheffler.
Yeah, okay,
Chris,
let's look at the stats. Let's go back to the stats, though. Let's see what our Golfbet stats say.
Let me tell Matty what his boy Scheffler said. This is a quote, direct quote, last Sunday from the US Open to me. I'd say it's more mental, but I think there's definitely a physical aspect to it. He said that this is really tough. Today, on Sunday, I made more of a conscious effort to make sure I got kind of my legs going in the swing. That's maybe something I'll have to assess in the off-season. I feel like I played a lot of my best golf, not late in the season, but early in the season. And that's maybe something I need to look at. Whether or not I need to get more mental rest as the year goes on, or maybe I need to get more physical endurance. I'm not really sure which it is, but I'm definitely feeling it. This is from Scotty Scheffler, direct.
Yeah.
And I think both are important. I think mental and physical are both equally important, maybe so much more mental than physical. But let's do this, guys. Let's look at the actual stats. That's what we do on Golfbet here, right? So we got 2 sets of stats. Here's the first one, okay? The Travelers champions of recent years, how they did at the US Open the week before. Now, I would say, Ben, I would disagree that the actual Travelers champions, it's too big of a mixed bag to say that these guys were gonna do well based on the week before.
But last year is the most apt comparison because last year was major into a signature event. And you see there, Keegan Bradley missed the cut. With that in mind...
But what about Harris English?
Look, third. I know, but that's Harris. And this is a different brand, is what I'm saying. It wasn't a signature event until last year. We had 125 or 32 or 156 or whatever it was playing different tournament. Once we brought it into being a signature event with limited players, that's what we need to use. So using that, Keegan Bradley missed the cut, went on to win, right? And
so if you want to talk...
Also no surprise to me because last year, the Heritage was won by Matt Fitzpatrick, who had an affinity with the area. He cared more than perhaps other guys who were gassed because he loved the joint and did really well there. Also, Keegan Bradley, it's like his hometown event. He cared more while others were gassed, and it helped him go all the way to the top. You will be able to play well. Don't get me wrong. Do not discount guys who played well at Pinehurst completely, but I think you'll get them in the top 10, top 20 markets is where you need to look at them and perhaps think of a guy that's a little bit more rested, or players further down the leaderboard even who weren't necessarily in the furnace of contention might be ones to look at. I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm just saying we do have to put our thinking caps on when it comes to this unicorn of a situation. 3 straight tough weeks.
What if we look at what happened earlier this year with the Masters into the RBC? Let's talk about Colin Morikawa and Ludwig Aberg. Both of those guys went down the stretch at Augusta, played fantastic the next week at the RBC. We didn't see much of a hangover at all with them. I think that's a similar situation that we're going to see this week. Those top guys, I think everyone thinks that Colin Morikawa and Ludwig definitely are in this. The fatigue question from major into signature, I think, can go beyond just Travelers and US Open if we look at the other majors and the other signature events that these players have played.
Ben's teeing himself up.
Just waiting for Matty to get on this train because I went deeper on this stuff. I
There we
want to
go.
look at the 5 guys on the top of the odds board this week.
Yeah.
Playing 3 weeks in a row. How often do you think any of them won in their 3rd week?
Well, none of them.
Duck egg,
Of course,
0.
well, it's golf,
You want
though.
to go have a look? Scheffler hasn't even played 3 weeks in a row this year. The last time he did that was the
So that doesn't
playoffs
count.
last year, and he finished 6th at the Tour Championship. Xander has done it 3 times this year. Actually, 3 times this year. 54th in the 3rd week, 5th and 23rd. Morikawa, he did it into the Zurich T23. He did it into the Charles Schwab Challenge after a major, 4th. Heritage, you mentioned Ludwig. T10 he was. Oh, yeah, okay, fine.
That's pretty good.
Let's get on him for a top 10 this week. Sure, let's get on him for a top 10. Like I said, there's going to be guys who played well at the US Open that finish in the top 10 at Travelers. But again, Cantlay's another. Did it twice this year, did not finish inside the top 10 on either of those occasions. That's something to think about.
Let's go to the second stat, because you just started to bring it up. Let's go to that second stat. Okay, was the U.S. Open too much of a grind for these guys? We're flipping the switch now here, flipping the script. We're looking at last year's U.S. Open, the top finishers, and how they did the next week at the Travelers Championship. Now, I would argue that your result at the U.S. Open doesn't really play that much of a factor into how you're going to do the next week at Travelers based on these stats, Matt, because Fleetwood was the only guy here who missed the cut. And I'm sorry, Wyndham Clark is not going to come back and win back-to-back after a historic performance on his terms at the U.S. Open. I see this stat as looking good for the guys who contended at the U.S. Open if they want to do well again the next week.
Yeah, I mean, if you're taking someone to win and they finish T4, like, are you going to be that mad? Yeah, obviously the bet didn't hit, but you came close. And if you come close in golf betting, that's all you can ask for. I mean, there's so many players in these field. Everyone's great. Like, it's so hard to win outright. If you're coming close, you're going to hit at some point soon. So I completely agree. T7, T4, T9, that means I was on the right track.
It means that you need to bet these guys top 10, not necessarily outright. That's what it means. Absolutely means that.
Fair enough.
It means that you need to bet a lot of these players top 10 this week because there will be a parlay of form, as I said. There will be guys that move in and do well. But let me just give you something to see. Matt, I've done your research for you as well here, okay? I'm giving you some information for your side of the coin.
Thank you.
How many players do you think have won this season on their 3rd or more starts in a row? Do you think there's a lot? Not many?
Probably not a lot.
I would say there's probably a couple. I'd say there's a handful.
Actually a fair few. Right?
Okay.
Let me tell you, on their 3rd start in a row, Matthew Pavon, early at the Farmers, that was his 3rd start in a row. The Lowry-Rory combination at Zurich, they had played Masters RBC.
Count?
Right?
Can't count that.
Use
Can't count that.
You want? 3rd in a row, Taylor Pendrith, 3 starts, did it in a row. Now 4 in a row. Playing their 4th start in a row. Chris Scotterup won 4th in a row. Akshay Bhatia had played 3 prior, so his 4th start when he won. Hideki Matsuyama, little sneaky one, boys.
That 3 in a row?
I've got a little love for Hideki now this week, otherwise having not done so before. He won Genesis after 3 previous starts in a row, so it was his 4th start in a row when he won there. But the Iron Man, 6th start in a row recently. Rob McIntyre, when he won the Canadian Open, he'd gone 6 straight starts when he won.
So what do you want? Someone who's in form and playing well, or are you going to worry about the fatigue that he's played too much? Like it's a yin and yang situation.
I want someone like Hideki Matsuyama.
Make your picks, Ben. Let's start. Make your picks.
I'm saying Hideki Matsuyama, who's proven that he can win on a 4th start this season. And is still decent odds at 22-1, which is different from what you're going to flash up on the screen. Because prior to all that research, I like Xander Schauffele, and that's who I think is still going to be a contender. His top 10 odds are crap, so we can't go top 10. So I'm going to put in Xander Schauffele as my number 1 as well. Look, I like Xander, as you know. I think his stats profile here for all the other ends. If we took out the fatigue thing we just spent 10 minutes debating, this guy is actually the horse for the course. Like, as simple as that.
Yes,
he's up the top in par 4 scoring. He's up the top in 125 to 175 yard approach. He's amazing strokes gained total. You need to be an approach player and a putter. He does both well. He's won here before. Ridiculous odds. I don't like the odds. I hope you got on him before Rory McIlroy's WD, which was a little bit juicier. If you didn't, I still think he's a live betting play. Hope you can get him at 10-1 at some point if he's in the afternoon wave or starts slow. I do think that Xander can handle the fatigue factor we talked about because he had fallen back by the time we were talking about the weekend. Like, he wasn't a real chance Sunday after some early struggles, so he was able to sort of just get it home and maybe conserve a little bit of energy. And I just said, I'm throwing in the extra one though. Don't sleep on Hideki Matsuyama.
Matt, did you hear what this guy just did? He contradicted himself.
Yeah,
Xander was absolutely mentally grinding the entire week at the U.S. Open. Now, granted, he wasn't in the mix on Sunday. I get that. Matt, you've got a similar pick in terms of a guy who wasn't really in the mix on the weekend. And I had to get off the Colin train because I was on it for too long, but I don't know if I disagree with this pick.
I mean, everybody, and I wrote this in Expert Picks, it's like, if you miss out on Colin's win this year, you're going to be so mad at yourself because everyone knows that he's so close to win. That's kind of why I'm jumping on him this week. The biggest thing I like for him this week is that putting within 10 feet distance. He was making everything the last couple of weeks. I really like that this week because if his irons are playing like he should play throughout the year, he's going to make a lot of birdie putts. And actually, the best play here I might look at is first round leader because that's really going to show you if Colin Morikawa is going to be down there in the stretch of this week because like we said, you have to score a ton of birdies. You have to putt well, but you also have to hit really good irons. That's Colin Morikawa. So I took Colin because I just know he's so close, but I really think the way that you can also do this week, there's about 4 guys that I wouldn't hate for you to take. You could take Colin, you could take Xander, you could take Hovland, and you could take Ludwig. I think if you spread out a little bit of units between those 4, one of those guys will come really, really, really close, and probably one of those guys will win. Xander hurts a little bit because he's plus 750, so your unit has to be small. But those 4 guys with Scotty in the field, there's a little bit of juice where you could spread out some money, and I really think you can't go wrong with any of those guys.
Chris, let's say why he's actually picking him. He's picking him to troll you and I, who've been on the train
on him for a long time, and it didn't work.
We've jumped off the train, and so because of that, he's going to do this and try to stick it to us just like I stuck it to him when Scheffler won 2 weeks ago. He's going to try to take the Expert Picks lead back again without.
He might. I mean, I don't hate the pick. Do you guys remember who was leading at the halfway point of the U.S. Open?
Yeah,
Ludwig.
Most people don't remember that. You know why they don't remember that? Because of the drama of the weekend. And look, this guy had 2 bad holes. He made 2 triples on his 3rd and 4th round. That was the only reason why he fell back from the pack. I think people forgot how good a golf he played in the biggest stage and clearly was not ready to take on the biggest stage and how to learn how to win the U.S. Open because of 2 holes. He doesn't have that problem this week, guys. This is not the U.S. Open. Ludwig has been playing as good as anybody out there on the PGA Tour in the last handful of weeks. If he can just be him and make sure his meniscus is not bad or whatever that injury is.
That's the question.
That is a question, but he's proven, though, Matt, that is it a big deal? It clearly doesn't seem like it is.
Clearly it doesn't, but I mean, there's something there, right? Like, we're talking about fatigue. We're talking about a guy who's wearing a brace at the Masters. Like, is it just over with? Is he fine? Are we just going to accept it? I think it's something that might sneak back in and could bite him. I don't know.
So for me, this is the most interesting player of the week.
Yes, he is, because he can go either way.
The one I want to see the most out of anyone to see how he responds to what he went through. Because, look, the mental, gymnastics he had to go through there through the weekend, 73-73 on the weekend to fall out of contention, yet still play such great golf in the beginning. We forgot that the first 2 rounds, I was out there, I was with him. He was the most impressive player through 2 rounds. I know he's leading, it's easy to say, but for me, it was the way he played. He looked like a veteran out there. It was his first US Open. I was stunned watching him going, this kid looks like he's played 15 of these. And then
he blew up.
2 holes. It was 2 holes.
Yeah. Yes, but he made an early mistake. And, that was it. That was the end of him, right? And you said, and of course on Sunday, he's probably still a bit bummed about what happened on Saturday when he made the triple. And he made an early triple there. That's an eject. And a quick ejection. He knows he's not going to win. And he came in through. So I'm fascinated to see whether the youthfulness in him allows him to be not fatigued, right, physically, because he's young, or if the mental fatigue of what happened to him, which is, it's a tough thing to swallow, is what hurts him. So I think you'll find, like, I advocate a head-to-head against him because Patrick Cantlay's plus money. You all did,
didn't you? You guys all took Cantlay over Oberg, didn't you?
But only because you're getting plus money.
You didn't?
You're getting plus money
from Cantlay.
Cantlay's a former record holder there, right? I'm not necessarily expecting it to win, but it was a numbers play, right? There is a chance that Ludwig does struggle to rebound. There is a chance. Now, if he smashes Cantlay by 8 shots, I won't be surprised at the same.
Yeah,
I love it.
Because Cantlay only showed you 1 week. I mean, it's a little
Yeah.
concerning to trust Cantlay right now. Like, yeah, he showed up last week.
It's
but
not a
before that-
trust him. It's a plus money play in a
Yeah.
head-to-head battle. A guy who is a horse for the course, and we know when has Cantlay played well this year? When he's a horse for the course. That's all. That's when he's
I will
played well this year. And
Yeah,
you know,
I will say
so-
one more thing about Ludwig Aberg, though. One more thing. You said it wasn't a major, but it's still a signature event. How is he going to fare down the stretch if he's in the mix of a signature event with all the best players in the world? That is still up for debate.
It's
I really
the learning
don't-
curve that we may or may not know if he's ready
Exactly.
for now. We don't know. He wasn't ready at the U.S. Open. This is different, I will say. And by the way, guys, before we get to best bets, 24 years old, exhaustion hits a little different than it does when you're an older
More about
player
the
on
mental.
tour. You're
More
right.
about the-
That's
It is.
fair.
It is.
That's fair.
Because the next guy I want to talk about, both of you have the same best bet, Ben. And I debated this on Brian Harmon. I just figured at some point he's not going to have a great result at this place. That's why I didn't touch it.
4 out of 5 in the top 10. The last 5
How do you
starts.
not?
I mean, how
Exactly.
can you not? And
Yeah.
you're getting 250. It's again, it's a numbers play. He wasn't fully in the mix last week, but he didn't play terrible. He's been having a decent season. Look, it's just again, it's the numbers play for a horse for the course. I think they're giving you a little bit of juice, which is nice. I wouldn't be surprised. I almost touched him for a potential winner because he's 40-1, and that's value. That's value there. I think he'll be there or thereabouts. I couldn't let it go. I don't know about you, Matty, but I just couldn't let those numbers go.
I couldn't agree more, and I actually say he's playing pretty well. I mean, he's nothing worse than a T33 in his last 4 starts,
Yeah,
and that includes the
look that
PGA Championship and the U.S. Open. So Brian Harmon's playing well, and he's at a course that he loves. I just don't understand why you wouldn't take it. You know, it's just
Short
everything's
course.
pointing up.
It's a short course.
But I didn't want to get caught in that trap of just assuming he's going to rise to the top because it's a short course. I didn't want to just make that assumption. Yeah, is his approach game, because 125 to 175 was our number, right, Ben? I didn't want to get trapped into that. And because I feel like that's what really can get people off track is they zone in on one stat and think it's going to happen. I mean, you say his worst start is T33 the last 4, but I'm looking at these last 5 on the bottom of the screen. I haven't seen him truly contend. I get he gets 4 rounds, guys, but I haven't seen him truly contend in a top 5. I don't care that he's been great here. I'm looking at recently and didn't want to fall in the trap of one stat, Ben.
Well, I'll say this. He's probably got the biggest gorilla on his back now because 2 of us, plus I think Will Gray.
Yeah,
is
you
on
all do.
top 10 this week.
Yeah, he's
so
jinxed.
that is the death
Yeah.
set. He's probably missing the cut by 7 now that we've done this. But I just think that he's a bulldog when it comes to this type of course. He likes to prove. He likes to sort of peak himself for the tournaments and the courses that suit him. And this is definitely one that he circles on the calendar every single year. He will expect to play well. I know that much.
Matt, I know you like my best bet, my top 10. Sahith Theegala, to me, is exactly like Oberg in terms of I think he could do gangbusters here, or he could have a serious letdown. I don't think last week was his type of course. I think he's a lot like Oberg, where he had to learn how to figure out how to play those tough, unique situations in a U.S. Open. Clearly, it didn't go well for him. Different animal this week. I think Sahith's been playing way too well lately. And one of 2 things is going to happen with these guys who've been playing well, right, Ben? I harp on this all the time. Either they're going to continue to play well and something good eventually is going to happen even better than it has before, or he's finally going to cool off. I just think him being one of those younger guys who is so hungry and so eager to keep getting better, and he was a lot like Oberg. A couple of bad holes really did him in last week. I really think Theegala can be a guy in the top 10, given he's got 4 rounds to do it.
Yeah, he's a fatigue play, too.
Big fan of that. I mean, I think I misspoke earlier and said he missed the cut at the
Yeah,
US Open.
right.
He just
Yeah,
started.
I knew
He-
what you meant.
He played through.
He should have. He was like
Yes.
5 under in his second round on Saturday.
Yes,
at some
correct.
point.
I think
Yeah.
he shot 7 over in the first 8
Yes.
holes or something
Yes.
ridiculous. And so in my head, I'd already ejected him out of the tournament. He did fight back, but then stayed around even for the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And again, I see
He
that
was
as
even his
somewhat-
final 54 holes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see that as somewhat rested. Also, former runner-up here when he should have beaten Xander, to be fair. Absolutely should have won that year when Xander won. He coughed up late with a bad drive into a bunker and just sort of the inexperience of youth got him. He was on my radar for potential outright. So yes, I think 240 for a top 10. As much as I'd like to, put crap on your selection there, Chris, I don't mind it.
Matt, do you want to put crap on Ben's long shot selection because it was the low-hanging fruit, Benny? Is that why? Is that the only reason?
Is he going back-to-back? Really? Is he going back-to-back, Ben? Is that happening?
Well, when you say long shot, you're not necessarily expecting the guy to win.
You got him right on the press. You got him right on the edge. I agree. It's fine.
It's 50-1, which is the end of it, and he's the defending champ, and he loves the area. Come on, Matty, you're a Boston boy or whatever up there.
I would love it. I would love it.
All about it. You should be like Keegan Bradley. You're my hero.
Yeah,
hero worship him. He'll probably be at the parade for the Celtics or something. So maybe,
he will.
Maybe.
Well,
maybe things will
does
go
that
bad
mean
that way? But
well, maybe he WDs then because it's Friday.
Yeah, he couldn't be there actually. Yeah, it's Friday.
But the reality here is, you're getting 50-1 on a guy who's a proven winner just 12 months ago. And as I said, it means more to him. I don't expect him to go back to back. Let's be fair about that. I don't expect him to win, but I absolutely expect him to be in the top 20. I think, you can get plus money. I'm just doing this for Benny and the bets that'll go up later. On my card, I've got him as a top 20 option at plus 125, and he's plus 300 for a top 10. So I think both of those markets are very good for Keegan Bradley. When I say long shot, can he win? Of course he can win. Will he? Probably not. But I do expect him to put a good effort out there while he is defending champion in his home region.
I didn't want to touch it. Matt, I almost touched the Akshay Bhatia long shot. I mean, I was this close. I didn't do it. I put in expert picks before you, and I looked at yours and I said, oh, wow, I almost took Akshay.
Yeah, I mean, because that makes me happy that you were also looking at him. But 8,000, I mean, this is just an insulting number for Akshay. Like, yes, I get it. It's a signature event, but there's no way in this world that he should be plus 8,000. I think he should be more like plus 4,000 because he's been playing really well lately. He was T22 at Memorial, T16 last week at the U.S. Open, and he can show that he can win in birdie fests. He won with 20 under at the Valero Texas Open earlier this year, and then he won Barracuda also the year prior. So this guy can win when you have to score. I mean, he's just someone that I feel like with the other people in that 8,000 range, he should have been up there with Keegan in that 5,000 range. So honestly, I'm really just taking the number, and maybe it's something you can hedge off or cash out halfway through. But 8,000 for Akshay at this course, great number.
Matty, what were those last two finishes you just said for him?
From Memorial, he was T22, and then T16 at the Open, US Open.
All right, well, I love that because, as I said, he was one of the guys, when he won, it was on his fourth in a row start. He was T17, T11 into winning. I'm saying that you've actually got a smash play here in the place markets.
Oh, someone ring the bell.
All of a sudden, I'm telling you, top 20 and top 30 must be good, decent money for this guy. So, I watched him closely too last week. Definitely a contender in the future for a major championship. Good point, Matt, that he won in a birdie fest and went deep. You are definitely getting value on this guy, definite value.
My long shot, guys, is out of nowhere. Kurt Kitayama. When you say he's been off the radar, Ben, he really hasn't been that far off the radar. I mean, if you want to go look at players' previous results, whether it's, last week or 3 months ago, you're not going to find very many miscuts from Kurt Kitayama. What I really, you might find like one or two. What I really like about this guy this week, you talk about not needing to hit it long like Brian Harmon. We've harped on that 50% of shots being from 125 to 150-ish yards. Third on the PGA Tour in that stat. Can he putt? That's the question. Can this guy putt? Yeah. But if you want to go 150 to 1 on somebody who chop in half the amount of guys he's got to beat compared to what he had to do when he won the API 2 years ago, I like it. 150 to 1. Call me crazy.
All right, I wouldn't go outside. I would not go outside anywhere except the plus 125 for a top 30 that you could possibly get for Kurt Kitayama. He missed the cut here last year. I just checked that. That's a problem for me. You're right though. If he is gonna pop somewhere potentially with those numbers, it would be here. But plus money for a top 30 when there's only 71 guys.
I think his top 20 was plus 250.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. There you go. As again, when we took our long shots,
we're not talking winners. Right? We're talking about guys who can get in the mix and make you some money in any kind of market.
Yes, correct. So for me, I wouldn't necessarily go down to 20, but that's a little thing to think about. Definitely 30 though. There's not usually top 40 markets in these because it's such a smaller field.
Yeah.
But top 30, if you're getting plus money and you like him, and those stats are important. We talked about that. It's 50% of all approach shots this week will be between 125 and 175. You have to be dialed in on that number. If you're not dialed in there, you are going to get lapped, and then you have to make some putts. Which is what the only reason you mentioned Colin Morikawa as your pick, Matty. You said he's been putting well. He has to putt well. It's as simple as that. It's the same for me. Like I like Hideki now as it's coming in, but if he doesn't bring his putter, just forget it. Eject, right? Like they have to make more than they miss.
You know what he would be? He'd be gone.
Gone. Absolutely gone.
Fun, boys. We'll see you next week and see if this mental fatigue is a big deal.